Every part of the earth is sacred to us. Every sandy shore, every mist in the dark woods, every meadow, every humming insect. The perfumed flowers are our sisters. The bear, the deer, the great eagle, these are our brothers. The rocky crests, the dew in the meadows, the body heat of the pony, and man all belong to the same family. The truth of those words spoken by Chief Seattle 170 years ago is only now being dimly realized by the peoples who have since then washed over the world, decimating any and all that stood in their way, at great cost to themselves. Many have forgotten what pure water tastes like, what pristine air infused, saturated, and soaked the scents of flowers smells like, what rich loamed earth awash in the potency for life feels like. We, the green movement of Sri Lanka, will always know, always remember. We will never forget that the birds, animals, trees, and human beings are all one, and that if we are to have any future at all, then it must be by acknowledging our unity and not by highlighting our differences. This is why when we started work on harmonizing the human-environment interface in the Knuckles Conservation Forest and its environs under the Colibri project, financed by the European Union, we took the universal set of all to be our community. So instead of looking at administrative practices, we took the innovative and divergent route of looking at natural realities, instead of piecemeal treating unnatural privileges, such as, say, women, youth, disabled, agriculture, protected areas, and so on. We took everyone and everything into our fold, making sure to leave no one behind, and in the process, ensuring that we did no harm. It was challenging work, part uncertain, part frightening, part failure, part success, all rewarding. And the reason for that reward was simple. Every single member of that community owned this effort. Once triggered into action, their innate sensitivities and sensibilities that had for so long been cauterized by development activities of various players that were sometimes astigmatic, sometimes aggressive, sometimes ignorant, and constantly disenfranchising. When we asked the kids to help, instead of just assisting in adult work, they formed themselves into societies that cost no one anything to work on more areas in the future than we had ever anticipated, creating by themselves fledgling socio-environmental champions of the future. When we took a diametrically opposing view to the mainstream of opting in a limited number of people in a given area and instead interceded on behalf of the entire area living across a river basin stretching for many miles from the KCF and gave them the chance to opt out, very few did. When we asked that a road bereft of greenery be converted into a canopy road, everyone from local and indigenous communities to state officials to area business people pitched in. When we asked that these areas be protected by a set of biodiversity and livelihood-related watchdogs, we had hundreds volunteer, of which we coached the best 36. When we understood that tree cover was too dense in some homestead and gave them instructions how to prune their greenery to improve overall agrobiodiversity, they learned quickly from our instructors. When we planted trees and let surrounding foliage envelop the new trees as a carpet cocoon of greenery, they understood the rationale of allowing nature to balance itself. When we realized that ground situations were far different to those that we had anticipated at program design, the European Union had the required flexibility to allow us to adjust our programming, and we sincerely wish this becomes the norm instead of the exception among all financial aid providers. While any improvement in biodiversity takes literally years to properly assess, the start was indeed heartening. On the side of the community, they realized how to take on responsibility and to do things for the good of all instead of merely clamoring for rights. When we spoke to enforcement agencies, from the police to the army to the forest and wildlife officials at the regional and national levels, every single one came forward, contributing either their time, their resources, or their knowledge. It was then truly a whole of community exercise. Overall, it was a heady pilot, and one where we saw a precursor of how socio-environmental conservation and regeneration of biodiversity should happen, where we saw a harbinger of a recalibrated idea of sustainability and ownership of effort, where we saw the real commencement of that thing echoed by Chief Seothal over a century ago, that we must work together for a shared future for all life.